This is the London derby. It is also, some would call it the Declan Rice derby. With the January window coming up, that topic is going to be around the media once again. Is there a priority for Chelsea when it comes to Declan Rice in January then, Mark?
Listen, there's no doubting the guy is a really good player. There's no doubting it whatsoever. Is he a priority for Chelsea in January? I don't think so in January. I don't really see why Chelsea would need to go and spend, I think, that little bit more to try and get someone in January, particularly someone like Declan Rice. I think, like I said, he's good. He's very, very good. Will he add to Chelsea's squad? Of course he would add. Is he a necessity in January? I don't think so.
Is it a case of when rather than if he would leave West Ham?
I think that's more of a case. I think that's a more valid point. I think from West Ham's point of view, they won't want to lose him in January. Doesn't matter how much money they get offered for him. And secondly, Chelsea, like I said, don't really need to go out and buy him, I think, in January. In the summer is a different story.
What about Manchester United? Do you see a need for them to get Declan Rice?
Yeah, listen, I think Manchester United, if you look at, depending on where you want to play Declan Rice, whether you want to play him as a centre-half or whether you want to play him in midfield, I mean, I think he's a better player in midfield, even though he's good enough to play at centre-half. Manchester United could definitely use him at centre-half, that's for sure. I think that's where one of their weak points are. In midfield, they have an abundance of good players. So again, it would be this, buying a player like Declan Rice to play in midfield. When they went out and bought, Donny van der Beek in the summer, you're just re-strengthening an already pretty strong area of the field.
What about the other half of Manchester then, the blue side?
Gosh, is he? I mean, I just don't know whether he would fit in with Manchester City. If you look at their midfield, who would he slot in for? Rodri seems to be, the holding midfielder they're really going with. Pep obviously loves him. I just don't. Phil Foden, he's supposed to be one of the most talented players that he's ever worked with, but he doesn't play him all the time. So I'm not really sure. I don't really see him as being a player that would necessarily go into that Manchester City side.
John, where if and when Declan Rice does go, where do you see him fitting in?
Well, first of all, West Ham won't want to lose one of their best players, probably their best player, their biggest asset, if you like. Because West Ham have aspirations this season to try and get into that sort of top 6, top 7. Whether they'll do that, I don't know, with Everton going so well and, the rest, maybe Arsenal falling by the wayside, gives them that little bit of an outside chance with a good run, if you like it. But I actually think Declan Rice would get into any side in the Premier League and he would be an asset in that side. I think he's an outstanding midfield player. He keeps the ball. He's a great athlete. He's assured on the football. He's brave in and out of possession. All right, he's not your blistering goal scorer that you get like a Frank Lampard was. But I do believe he's the current England sort of central midfield player, a great passer, shields the ball very, very well. And I believe he would be an asset to any team in the Premier League right now. He would be on lots and lots of teams' lips in January. Whether they get him in January or whether this side, because January predominantly, they say, is not a great month to do business. You're not quite sure how your team are going to go in the second half of the season. So I believe he is a top draw midfield player. That's only my opinion. I rate him extremely highly.
Mark, do you agree with John?
No, I've said that. I think he's a top class player. The question is, and I'll pose that to John as well, is that Manchester United, would they see that as an important or a necessity right now? When you look at their midfield, Donny van der Beek, Paul Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, Fred. Would you go out and buy Declan Rice when I think Manchester United's priority should be at centre-half? Or do you buy someone like Declan Rice with a view of playing at centre-half? Manchester City, should they spend that money on a player like Declan Rice?
Well, Mark, I think he's better than all them. I think he's better than Fred. I think he's better than McTominay. Fernandes is outstanding. He's been Manchester United's best player in the last 12 months when they bought him. Pogba, we're not quite sure what Pogba's going to turn up. Some weeks he's great, other weeks he looks languishing, doesn't look up to it, body language not there. So I think it would be a great signing for them. Man City, Rodri, Fernandinho. I'm not too sure whether Rodri's the player that we expected him to be. I don't think his performances have been at the level. So for me, I think he walks into them teams. I really do, and I think Pep and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would love a Declan Rice. It's only my opinion, but I think he's better than them players. You've just mentioned that.
Would you pay between 60 and 80, however it would cost? I mean, I don't know. What would West Ham want for him?
Well, they wouldn't want to sell him, absolutely not, because he'd be on a long-term contract. And listen, I think the favourites to sign him would probably be Chelsea. I do. I think the favourites to sign him. I think Frank Lampard's a huge admirer. What would he be worth? You'd have to pay 80 million at least for him. But 80 million pounds is an extreme amount of money. But when you're getting one of the best central midfield players in Europe, somebody who's young, mobile, plays, never injured, England midfield player for the next 10 years, hopefully if he stays fit and well. These teams now, they've got it. They've got the funds to go and pay that.
Right, I'll buy him. I believe John Hartson, mate. He sold me the story. He is unbelievable, and I'm going to buy him now. if I were Chelsea, and besides, listen, he's Mason Mount's best mate as well, so I think there's a big chance for him.
You're right, yeah.
I guess we shall see what happens to Declan Rice as the saga continues.